continue the series of Yalkut Yosef over here. Friends, we're continuing it. We're on Siman 340. We're talking all about something called gozez. It's a melacha on Shabbat, also known as shearing in English. We're going to learn about it. Let's see how we get it. Very, very hot day here in Israel. So let's take this underway. Making fantastic progress here and see how far we can get on this hot summer's day here in Israel in the city of Bet Shemesh, friends. Okay. Aleph, אסור ליטול שערו או ציפורנה בשבת. בין ביד, בין בכלי ובין בשיניו, בין לעצמו ובין לאחרים, ואם נטל שתי שערות בכלי חייב, וביד אסור מדרבנן, וכן התולש שערה אחת מבשרו או מבשר חברו, עבר על איסור דרבנן, כיוון שהוא פחות מכשיור, שכל חצי שיעור בהלכות שבת פטור, ואינו אסור אלא מדרבנן, והמלקט שערות לבנות מתוך שערות שחורות, אפילו שערה אחת חייב. What's going on here? It's forbidden to cut a person's hair or nails on Shabbat, whether with a tool or by hand or even to bite it off. It's equally forbidden to cut someone else's hair or nails and to cut one's own. If someone cuts two hairs off with a tool, he is guilty of a capital offense of desecrating Shabbat. But if he does so by hand, he has performed an act forbidden only by our sages. Likewise, if someone cuts or plucks a single hair from himself or from someone else, he is guilty of an act forbidden only by our sages. He is not guilty of an act forbidden by the Torah, since the minimum amount forbidden by the Torah is 2 hairs. When someone performs an act of malacha that is less than the amount of an act of capital Shabbat desecration, he is guilty only of performing an act forbidden by our sages. Someone who plucks even one white hair from an area of black hair, however, is guilty of a capital act of Shabbat desecration according to Torah law. Very, very interesting. Okay, friends, we are now on halacha number 2. That's bet, naturally, in Hebrew. Wiping one's nose. Bet. יש להקל לקנח את צואת החותן בשבת גם כשהיא יבשה, ולא חיישינם בזה משום תולש השערות. כל שאינו מתכוון לתלישת השיער, ואפילו אם הוא פסיק רשע, שיתלשו את השערות מותר, כיוון דלא אכפת להו, והוא גם איסור דרבנן, שאינו תולש בכלי, לכן מותר. What's going on over here, friends? It's allowed to wipe one's nose clean on Shabbat, even if the mucus is dried in the nostrils. It does not matter that one might pull out some hair from the nose, since this is not the intention of the person wiping his nose clean. Even if there's no doubt that by cleaning out the mucus, one will remove some hair and it is a psicratia, it is permitted, since plucking out hairs by hand is prohibited only by our sages, and he has no desire to perform the melacha of plucking out his hairs. This is a principle of psicratia de lo nihile de rabbanan, which is allowed over here. Very interesting. Okay, halakha number 3, friends. So that's given naturally in Hebrew. מותר לקנח עצמו היטב במים בשבת ולא חיישין על עשו משום חשש תלישת שערות, ומה שכתבו כמה אחרונים להזכיר בזה אינו אלא ממידת חסידות בעלמא, והמקל לא הפסיד, ומי הוא המחמיר לקנח בנחת שלא יתלשו שערות, תבוא על הברכה. וכמו כן מותר לשפשף את השערות הזה כן בעת שדוחץ פניו בשבת, מטעם האמור, מכל מקום המחמיר תבוא על הברכה והמקל לא הפסיד. What's going on over here, friends? We are in a gimel. After using the restroom, the bathroom on Shabbat, a person may wipe himself clean, even with water. It does not matter if he may inadvertently pluck out some anal hairs. The reason for this is the same as the reason for permitting one to wipe one's nose clean in the halacha above. Although some poskim wrote that we should be careful not to detach any hairs, there is a practice reserved for the pious individuals over here, and someone who acts leniently in this regard will not be punished for it over here. If someone wipes himself gently and avoids detaching any of his hairs, he will receive a bracha from heaven. When a man washes his face on Shabbat, he may rub his beard, although he might pluck some hairs out. He may do so without fear of being punished for it. But anyone who refrains from acts that might pull out his hairs will receive a special blessing from heaven. Very, very important. We're going to continue on halacha number 3. Naturally, that's number 4 in English. We're learning the Saka edition of the Akut Yosef over here. Okay. מותר לנשים לפלוט את ראש ילדיהן מלוכלך או מקינים בשבת על שיש להן שערות ארוכות וכשהיא מוציאה את הכינים. עלולה לפעמים לתלוש שערות בידיה. ומאחר ותלישת שיער ביד אין בה איסור אלא מדרבנן. והוא הרי אינו מתכוונת לתלוש שיער. אפילו אם הוא פסיק רשע, הרי הוא פסיק רשע בדרבנן, ולא ניחלה שמותר. ומה שהזהירות בזה הפוסקים אינו אלא מידת חסידות בעלמא. What's going on over here, friends? Started. It's allowed to pick out dirt or lice from children's hair on Shabbat, even if the child has long hair, and it's likely that one will pull out some hairs while removing the filth. It's permitted. As explained previously, women may remove lice away anyway, the lice anyway, since removing hair by hand is forbidden only by our sages, and she has no intention to pull out any hair. Over here. Even if we would consider this to be a case of psikresha, this is psikresha dilo nihalei drabanan, which is permitted. Although some rabbis wrote that we should be careful not to detach any hairs, this is a practice reserved for the very Hasidim people, the pious people. And we can look back in Siman 316, which we did about a good maybe couple of months back. Number 10, about the act of killing lice on Shabbat. Very, very interesting. Okay. Halacha number 5, that's hate naturally. מותר ייקח הכינים ושאר הלכלוכים מתוך בגד של אורות של שועלים אף כשהוא מנתק מן הצמר מאחר שאינו מתכוון לתלוש את הצמר. Likewise, it's allowed to pick lice and dirt off a fox fur garment, although one might detach some of the fur in the process, since one has no intention of detaching the fur. Okay, number Vav. תחבושת וכן פלסטר הדבוקים בגופו במקום שיש שם שערות, ואם יסירם בשבת בהכרח שיתלוש שערות בסרטן, אף על פי כן מותר להסירם אם יש לו צורך בכך, מפני שאינו מתכוון לתלישת שערות, ואף על פי שהוא פסיק רשע מותר, משום דבר פסיק רשע דלא ניחלה דרבנן שמותר. It is permissible to remove a bandage from one's skin on Shabbat if necessary, even if it's attached to a hairy part of the body, and removing the bandage will pull out some hairs. As in the previous halachot, this is permitted because it's psikresha dilo niha le derabanan, which is allowed over here. Okay. How about combing hair? This is halacha number Zayin we are now on. Number 7. אסור להסתרק במסרק בשבת מדרבנן. שרי בהכרח נתלשות שערות, אבל מותר לסדר השערות מברשת רכה. וקבע הצביעו הפוסקים על מה שאנו רואים במקצת אנשים המקלים ראש לסרוק את ראשם בשבת. והדבר נעשה אצלם כהתר. ואוי לעיניים שכך רואות שעוברים על איסור שבת, ומן הראוי שכל חכם יזהה על כך לאנשי קהילה אולי ישמעו ויקחו מוסר. What's going on here, friends? Number 7, our sages forbade the act of combing hair on Shabbat, since this will surely pull some hairs out. However, one may straighten one's hair with a soft brush. Many poskim have complained bitterly about those people who continue to comb their hair on Shabbat as if it were perfectly acceptable and permitted. They were aghast at the sight of people who desecrate Shabbat deliberately. Every rabbi must stress to his community the importance of the halakha, so that they will come to understand and obey it. Okay, very important. How the rabbi should teach the Kehila all these laws over here. Okay. Number 8 over here, Chet. חייל הנמצא בצבע של גויים וקיבל פקודה לגלח את זקנו בשבת כדי לקבל פני שר נכבד, ואין לו אפשרות לסרב לפקודה, עדיף שיתגלח בשבת על ידי גוי מאשר יגלח בעצמו על ידי שר. It's forbidden by the Torah to remove one's beard on Shabbat using a depilatory cream. It's considered equal to shaving with a tool. Therefore, if a soldier in a non-Jewish army is ordered to shave off his beard on Shabbat because an important dignitary is arriving and it's impossible to refuse the order, you should have a non-Jew shave him, even if the non-Jew will use a razor blade rather than shave himself with a cream. over here, very important. Number 9, tet. חתיכת עוף מבושל שבעת. אכילתו בשבט, הבחינו בו, שנשארו עליו נוצות קטנות שלא נמרצו קודם הבישול. מותר לצולשן בשבת בשעת האכילה. ואין בזה לא משום גזז ולא משום בורא. שכיוון שכבר נתבשל אין על זה תורת צלישת נוצות מן האור, וגם לא נחשב כעוקר דבר מגדולו. שכיוון שכבר נתבשל ונתרחחו, הנוצות מקום מנקיתם מהאור, וכתלושים דמו ושלא כדברי האסור. It's allowed to remove the small feathers that one might find on a piece of cooked chicken when eating it on Shabbat. It's not considered an act of the malacha of gozer, since the chicken is already cooked, and plucking the feathers at this stage is not considered an act of detaching something from the source of its growth. Once the chicken was cooked, the feathers have been loosened and are no longer considered to be attached to the skin. This halacha, although there's an opinion that it's forbidden, removing feathers while eating the chicken is not forbidden. Over here, as an act of malacha of boreh, either since it's done at the meal and it's considered part of the process of eating. Wow, just friends, very, very hot. I don't know if I'll be able to do much more. Let's try and finish section. 2 more halachot. Number Yud. אסור לחתוך יבלות מגופו בין ביד בין בכלי. בין לו, בין לאחר, וכן אסור לתלוש קליפות אור הפורשים מן האדם. כי האדם הוקש לקרקע. It's forbidden to cut a wart from one's skin, whether he does so with his fingers or with a tool, and whether he removes a wart from his own skin or from someone else's skin. It's forbidden as well to detach flakes of skin that are peeling from one's body. So it's going to be an abbreviated session today. It's just I'm in a very hot place, so we're talking about gozer, sharing over here. Number Yud. אישה ששכחה לגזז את ציפורניה מערב שבת, וחל זמן טבילתה בליל שבת. מותר לה לומר לנוכרית לגזז את ציפורניה בכלי בשבת. אשר איסור גזיזת ציפורניים בשבת הוא מדרבנן. באמירה לגוי איסור מדרבנן, והווה לשבות דשבות במקום מצווה, ומעיקר הדין אין לחוש על מה שמסייעת לה בהגשת ידיה, והווה מסיעה שאין בו ממש, ומאמנן מידת חסידות. טוב להחמיא ללמד את הנקרית שתמשוך את ידי האישה כדי לגזוז את ציפורניה, ולא תושיט האישה את ידיה אליה. ואם אין שם נוכריות, יש להציע לא לטבול על ידי ניכור יפה תחת הציפורניים, משום דקיימלן כדעת רוב בכל הפוסקים, שציפורן עצמן אינו חוצצות, אלא לכלוך שתחת הציפורניים הוא שחוצץ. What's going on over here, friends? We're in halacha number 11. If a woman needs to immerse herself in a mikveh on Friday evening, but she forgot to cut her nails before Shabbat began, she may instruct a non-Jewish woman to cut them on Shabbat. The act of cutting nails is a sacred mitzvah of immersing in a mikveh is forbidden only by our sages, and instructing a non-Jew to perform a melacha is also forbidden only by our sages. Thus, this is a case of shvut d'shvut, b'makom mitzvah, which is permitted. Technically, the woman does not sin even if she stretches out her fingers to make her nails available to the non-Jew who is cutting them. Assisting the non-Jew in this manner does not make the Jew a partner in the act of malacha as an act of piety. However, it's better that this woman instruct the non-Jew to pull the fingers forward and not offer her fingers herself. If a non-Jewish woman is not available, the Jewish woman may immerse herself without cutting her nails as long as she cleans thoroughly under the nails so that there's no dirt at all. The opinion of the great majority of women is that the nail itself is not considered something that blocks the mikveh water from touching any part of the woman's body. The dirt itself that might be under the nail is what blocks the water and it validates the immersing. Therefore, once she has cleaned out all the dirt, she may immerse herself. In this case, since there's no non-Jew to cut her nails. Friends, we're going to continue on Mochek next session. Just very hot here. Wishing you all a great day. Ilul Nishmat Rabbi Yehudi, his wife and his 2 daughters.